I say, so up till here, the Rebbe was explaining the question. The question in the Maimer was, how come we say echad and not yachid? We say ato echad, ושמך echad, umika amcho ki Yisrael goy echad, all echad. And the Rebbe explained in the previous four oisias that l'chayre it should say yachid and not echad. Now the Rebbe brings down the answer that the Frierdiker Rebbe gives in the Maimer, why we say echad versus yachid. He explains that echad has in itself a maila that dafke in echad you get the higher level, you get the level of the etzem, because echad is tzimtzum, it's not, it's concealment, it's restriction, and that's why you get to a higher place. As first he introduces the idea of the difference between oir and shame. Oir is a reflection. So when you have the sun, for example, shines, so what is it in the shine of the sun that tells us about the sun? How does the oir, what comes that shines, how does oir relate to its source? The source of oir is ma'oir. Ma'oir is the source of oir. So like the sun would be ma'oir. Shnei ma'oiros hagedolim. The sun is the luminary. The oir is the oir hashemesh that we actually have the oir. How the oir reflects its source, and then versus shame, a name. When a person has a name, for example, how much does that name really reflect the person? So by oir, we say there is an advantage that the oir reflects and relates to us. It connects to the source. And that's why in the level of Gilui, the level of revelation, oir reveals its source. Oir reveals the moir, as opposed to shame, the name of a person, does not reveal the person. There's many people that can have the same name. So it can't be that the name doesn't really reflect the person, but yet the name touches the person in an inner, deeper way, not in a revealed way. If God forbid somebody faints, if you call, you whisper his name, that name will awake him, bring him back his chayis, will connect to the etzem hanefesh. Basically, revelation gives you more of what is revealing. Oir gives you revelation. Shame is hidden, but the hidden is deeper connected to the essence. Let's look inside. Hey, hine hatam al zeh shebechol gimul ha'inyonim. So what's the reason for this? That in all of these three matters, which is ato, that's you, shimcha, your name, and ka'amcha ki Yisrael, like your people Israel. So by all these three things, nemar echad v'lo yochid. It says echad, and it doesn't say yochid. Ato echad, shimcha echad, mi ka'amcha ki Yisrael goyachad. Bevayer b'hamaimer behegde machiluk. explains in the Maimer by first bringing down the difference between oir l'shem, between oir, light, and a name. Shebekol echad mehem yesh maila. In each one of them, there is an advantage. There is an advantage to oir, and there is an advantage to shame. The mailas ha'oir hi be'inyan hagilui. The advantage of oir is in the idea of revelation. Sheha'oir megale es ha'moir. Oir, the light reveals its source, the moir, the luminary. Oir me'ein hamoir, the oir gives us the moir. So revelation-wise, when we have oir reflects that reveals, it reveals the source, the moir. The shame, on the other hand, when you have a name, einoi megale es hanikra b'shem. A name does not reveal the one who is called by the name. Well, come on, say, for example, Shem Ha'odom, the name of the person. The mizeh sheyodim as shemoi, from the fact that we know his name. Let's say you know a name of a person. Ein yodim as mohusei. You don't know who the person is. That's just his name. Moir tells us what the oir tells us what the moir is. It reveals the moir. But a name of a person doesn't really tell you who the person is. You know his name, but you don't know. That doesn't. It's not a reflection. It's not a revelation. It doesn't reveal the person. B'harei kama noshim nikroim b'isa Hashem, and you have many people have the same name. If they have the same name, av she'ein doimim zeh lo zeh, even though they're not compared to one another, they still have the same name. So it means that the name does not reveal the person, because the people that have the same name are not the same. They're not the same people. Loi b'sichlom, loi b'midei, not in their intellect. These people are different. They have different minds. And also the the same, and they have different emotional status. But through oir we know who the luminary is. So that's the advantage of oir over shame, that oir tells us, the luminary tells us the source, as opposed to a name doesn't really tell us who the person that is called by this name. What is, on the other hand, there's an advantage of a name. The name has an advantage with its relationship to its source more than the oir with its source of the moir. That the name draws down the essence. The keshekoidim la'odom b'shmoi, that when you call a person by his name, you call him. So then, he turns to the one who calls him with his whole essence. When you call him, it's not just a reflection of him, but he turns to you entirely, all of his being, his whole essence. So that's one. The name has the ability to turn and touch, that the whole person turns to you. Vi'yiseda mizu, and even more than this. The gam kishaha'odam misalef, also when the person faints, al yidei shekoirim oisoi bishmoi umisoirer mehais alfus. By calling the person by his name, he wakes up from his state of faint. That means that a name gets the person, awakens him up, and touches him to bring him back from his faint. K'al yidei, how is this? How do you bring him back by calling his name? K'al yidei hakriya b'shmoi, because through calling his name, mamshichim es etzem hachayis shelemaylo mihispashtus hachayis. You draw down the essence of the life, which is higher than the expansion of the life. The level of faint, where does the person faint? That's the hispashtus hachayis. The way the chayis comes out, it's this aleph, it's faints, you lose it. But when you call him by the name, you tap into a higher place that you bring down the essence of the chayis, which is higher than the hispashtus. V'zuhi hamayla d'shem legabe oir. So this is an advantage of a shame relative to oir. Sheha-oir einoi mamshich es ha'etzem. Oir does not bring down the etzem. It reflects the etzem, but the oir does not draw down the etzem. Hainu hamoir. It doesn't bring down the luminary. The shame mamshich es ha'etzem, but the shame brings down the etzem. So the mile of oir over shame is that oir is a revelation, but shame doesn't reveal us the person who's called by the name. On the other hand, shame has the ability to touch the etzem hanefesh, to bring you out from faint and to have you turn fully to the person. That's the advantage of shame. But oir does not bring down the etzem, does not bring down the moir. It's just a reflection of the moir, and shame brings down the etzem. The Rebbe is going to explain now what is it exactly that the Friedrich Rebbe is adding when he says oir is not mamshich the etzem, which is the moir, which is the luminary. Well, why is he adding? He should just say l'chayre that the oir does not bring down the etzem. Shame has the ability to be mamshich the etzem, and oir does not mamshich the etzem. That's it. What does he add by saying hamoir? The Rebbe is going to explain that in the shoyresh there is two levels. There's the level of moir, the luminary, but within the shoyresh, within the etzem, within there is one part which is moir. It's a luminary, which means it's not the oir yet, but it's the source. From it will shine. That's one level. A higher level is the essence, which is not connected to shine at all. The source of oir is the source of moir. The source of shame is the etzem mamish. And when the Friedrich Rebbe adds that the oir is not mamshich the etzem hainu hamoir, which means that the oir cannot even mamshich the level of moir. Of course, not the level of etzem. That's not bechlal rooted. And on the other hand, the level of shame can actually draw it down, not just the level of moir, but even the level of etzem. That's why he says here, hainu hamoir. When over there it says hamoir, but the shame mamshich etzem is the higher level. That explains what he means. Hainu hamoir. The Rebbe will explain it now. So we can say the mashekosu b'hamaimer, that what it says in the maimer shehoir einei mamshich es ha'etzem hainu hamoir. He qualifies and says that what does it mean that is not mamshich the etzem? He says it's the moed. Hakavona bozehi. So what is the intention over here? Ki beha etzem shemimenu nimshach ha'oir shnei inyonim. That etzem from which the oir comes, there's really two aspects to it. There is hamo'oir shaboy, the part in the etzem which is the luminary in it, etzem mamish, and the actual essence shalomayla memoir, which is even higher than the luminary. So he explains the zesh nikra b'shem mo'ir, the fact that we call it mo'ir, umipnei shehu meir, it's because it shines. Hainu shenimshach mimenu oir, that means oir comes from it. But the actual etzem umuvdal me'inyan ha'oir is distinct, is separate from the idea of oir. It's even higher and distinct. It's not only from the actual oir that shines, but it's bechlal higher than even being a luminary from which oir comes. So we can say the achiluk ben shoydish ha'oir l'shoydish Hashem hu. So what's the difference? Where is the root of oir, and where is the root of shame? And he gave a mashal of the shame of a person, but the same thing we can understand is also with regards to the name of Hashem and his shame. The shoydish ha'oir, the root of oir, hu behamoir, is in the moir level, and the shoydish Hashem hu beha'etzem, and the root of shame is in the essence. Mo'oir reveals the oir, reveals the mo'oir, the level of mo'oir in the etzem, and the shame is mamshich the etzem, the etzem which is higher than oir, than even the mo'oir of oir. Bezehu she'oir hu gilui, v'shem hu helam, and this is why, because the root of shame is in the etzem, which is not connected to oir, versus oir, which is connected to the moir. That's why oir is gilui, oir hu gilui. Oir is revelation. The shame hu helam, and shame is hidden. It's obscure. Ki inyan hamo'oir hu shehu meir mispashet umisgala, because what is the mo'oir? What is the luminary? That is to shine, to expand, to reveal. Oir that comes from mo'oir reveals privilege. But the etzem, hashodesh, the shame, the root of shame, umuvdal me'inyan ha'oir, this is separate from light, his pashtus v'gilui. So therefore, of expansion and revelation. So therefore, oir is gilui, and shame is hidden, doesn't show the person, as we said before. So balpizeh yesh levayer. So based on this, that we're saying that there's a different source. The source of moir is the source for oir, and the source, the etzem, which is higher than moir, is the source for shame. Yesh levayer mashakosuv. The Maimer, we can explain what the Maimer says. What does it mean when he says he doesn't take the etzem? He qualifies and he says what it means is the moir. What does the Rebbe mean in the Maimer explaining that? Shakavona bozer shemoisif hainu hamoir. What's his intention when he says this is the moir? He's in trying to say that etzem sheshayich le'oir, the etzem that is connected to oir, uloy ha'etzem mamish, that's not the actual etzem, but ha'kamoir. It's only the moir. Here, the moir part of the etzem is the source for oir. But there is a higher etzem. There's an etzem which is higher than oir. So the Rebbe qualifies that when we're talking about that, it does not that the oir reveals the moir. So he is talking about the moir, which means the etzem sheshayich loir, but loya etzem mamish, but akamoir, that when it reveals it's not the actual etzem, it's only the luminary part of the etzem. The afal became, and still, the light cannot, oir cannot even be mamshich, that lower level, the level of moir. That's why it's hana moir. Then the Friedrich Rebbe, then the Maimer says Shashem Mamshich es ha'etzem. Says etzem. It doesn't say here hamoir. Shem Mamshich ha'etzem stam. She'etzem sheshayich l'shem, because the etzem that has the connection to the shem, hu ha'etzem mamish, that is the actual etzem, shemuvdal me'inyan hagilui, which is separate from the idea of revelation. Afal pikein, and still Hashem mamshich es ha'etzem, name brings down the etzem. So the Rebbe explains in the Yeshleim, the wording of the Friedrich Rebbe and the Maimer, that when the Rebbe says that the oir does not mamshich es ha'etzem, and he qualifies, he explains hainu hamoir, is to say that even the moir, because that is the root of oir, it doesn't draw down. As opposed to shame, that it draws down the etzem, means that the higher level, not the moir. Over here, he just says the etzem stam, it draws down, meaning that even the higher level, the shame is mamshich. Vov. And the Rebbe wants to explain now that the whole idea is over here to take this higher level of etzem, of shame, and bring that level also be his galus. He's going to bring a statement of the sages in which it interprets that it means to take the shame and bring this down bisgalus, so it'll have both milas. It'll have the mila of shame and the mila of oir, that the shame will be revealed. He continues the Maimer. This is what our sages of blessed memory said. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mahalik Tov Kuf Shono. Hashem went a journey of 500 years, Liknes Loi Shem. This is in the Koheles Rabbah, in order to acquire himself a name. What does it mean to acquire himself a name? The Shoyresh Hashem, he wanted to acquire himself a name because the root of shame is higher than the root of oir, like we said before, that the shame is in the etzem, which is higher than the moir. But the thing is, eloshu behelem. The thing is that the shame is obscure, it's hidden. So what is the idea of the inyan liknois loy shame, to acquire for himself a name? What does it mean to acquire a name? U'shahashem yiyeh begilui kimoy oir. That is for the shame to be revealed just like light. Oir's mila is revelation. Shame, mila is that it touches the etzem, a higher place. If we can get the etzem to be revealed, will have both milas. Oz yushtei hamilas. Then you'll have both advantages. Hamshochas ha'etzem, you'll be mamshel the etzem, which is a mila d'shem. Even the etzem, which is higher, but all the hamshochas etzem is only by shame. It should be openly, which is the advantage of it. Based on this, he explains the meaning of Ato Echod v'Shimcha Echod. Why we say here Echod and not, we say Ato Echod and not Ato Yochid v'Shimcha Yochid. Ki Yochid ve'Echod, because essentially Yochid and Echod, the difference is Hu Gilui ve'Helam. It's revelation and obscurity. Yochid is the level of Oir, because when there is light, you see that there's nothing else besides Hashem. Echad, when there is creation, that means that godliness is obscure, so there exists other things at all. That is because it's hidden. Ki Yochid ve'Echad hu Gilui ve'Helam. That is revelation and obscurity. Shemitzad hagilui de'Ein Sof, that from the perspective of the revelation of the Ein Sof, ein mokum la'olamos, there is no room for the world, is Yochid. Zeh sheyeshnam olamos, olam loshem helem. The fact that there is world, and there is a world, what does it mean, a world? A world means that there's a place which is hidden, which Hashem is not revealed. That's what is the meaning of an olam, is Loshen Helem. World, just by definition, we call it a world. We call it an olam because there is obscurity here. There's no revelation of godliness in the world. But it's echad. Even though there is a world, but it's still yuchat to Hashem. How does that take place? Hu al yidei hatzimtzum v'hahelem. That is through the restriction of the light and the obscurity of the light, so you don't see a world. So, turns out that echad is the level of tzimtzum, and yachid is the level of revelation. Mitzad revelation, there is only Hashem. And mitzad tzimtzum, it's obscurity, and you see that there is a world that is echad. L'chein yesh maila be'echad legabe yochid, and therefore there is an advantage in echad relative to yochid. That what al derech, similar to the maila, the shame helem legabe oir gilui, relative to the oir which is revelation. Just like we said before, that shame is helem, doesn't reveal, but yet it connects deeper with the essence. It draws down the essence. That's the maila of echad over yochid, that it reveals the essence. And that is accomplished through the Yidden, which are one nation in the world. Through the work, the service of Torah Mitzvah, then you bring down the Aleph that points to Ato. But when we say Echod, the Aleph is Hashem Atzmus. The word Aleph is Ato, you is Atzmus. So we bring down through the Avodah Torah Mitzvahs Atzmus ba'Ches v'Hadalet. In the Ches and the Dalet, the Zayin Akim v'Oretz, the Dalet Ruches Olam. In the Ches and the Dalet, which is the seven heavens and the earth and the four corners of the world. So that becomes the Echad, the Maila, that we bring down the level of Atzmus. The Rebbe brings down another point now, that the ultimate Maila of Echad is not just to remain echad, which means you bring down the atzmus, but then it still remains obscure, because when we have echad, but the echad should come down in a revealed way. That's why the Maimer previously that I've explained that there is that there should be a revelation. He brings down that in the shame, shame, that there should be a revelation of in the shame, just like in oil, it should also be in shame. It's to tell us that this is the mile of echad, is not just in echad itself, but when we bring down the light, when the echad becomes begilu. Let's look at that. Yeshleimer, we can say that in order for him to explain the advantage of echad legabe yochid, magdim ba'maimer inyan de oir v'shem. He first brings down the idea of oir v'shem to explain to us. He doesn't just tell you that echad is deeper than that echad shame is deeper than yochid, because it touches the etzem. He brings down oir v'shem. And also he brings down v'sheikir hamayla d'shem hu k'sheyesh bo gam mayla sa'oir. And also that the main advantage of shame is when it also has the advantage of light. So why does he do that? In the Maimer explaining that is to hint to us that similarly it's also with echad and yochid. Da'agam sheyisrein de'echad legabe yochid hu gam be'inyan de'echad k'may shehu mitzad atzmai. Although there is an advantage in echad over yochid, even just by echad itself, not making echad revealed, even in the hidden state that echad is tzimtzum, there is an advantage that it's mamshich etzem k'may mitzad atzmai mikol makom. But the reason the Maimer says that before is ikera maila bozer hi ksheyesh be'gam ha'inyan da yochid. The main advantage is when there is also the level of yochid. Shahayisrein be'inyan da echad k'may shehu mitzad atzmei. When we talk about the advantage of echad on its own, without bringing down the advantage of yochid in echad, but just echad alone, shegam ha'olam ha'isem b'teilim u'miyochadim, because that means that the world, even though there is others, there is ches and daled, there's still aleph, they're echad, they're bottled, ein boi mailas hagilui, but it's still lacking the advantage of revelation which oir has. This doesn't have that. Why? Because the bittul kizesha bittul the echad einoi bittul betachlis kia bittul the yochid. What the fact that the subjugation of echad, the ches and the daled are bottled to the aleph, is not a total bittul like the bittul of yochid where there is no existence. Sheha beha bittul the echad ha'olamais nirim lemetzias. In bittul of echad, the world appears as a metzias. But bittul shalohem ukmei davar noisef al mitziusam. The bittul of the worlds in the darga of echad, it's something added to their existence. It's not that they lose their mitzias. It's not bittul b'mitziusam. They have their mitzias, and their mitzias is but it's in addition to there, but it's not in their mitzias itself. And the reason so why aren't they fully bottled? Because they don't have the revelation of itself. The iker hamaylehi, but the main advantage is that it should be fully bittul. Shagam b'ha'olam shenishavu. That also in the worlds that were created through the tzimtzum, meir hagilui de'erein sof shalamaylam hatzimtzum, that over there too shines the revelation of the erein sof that is higher than tzimtzum. You want the bittul should be a bittul b'mitzias, so that should not just be a dover noisef al mitziusam, because of the lack of gilui, but we want it to be gilu ein sof, which is higher than the tzimtzum. But if it's higher than tzimtzum, they're not in existence. But no, we want both things. V'agilui hu loy be'oifen shehem is spatlim tziyusum. The revelation is not that they lose, that they get nullified from their existence. Elo shahagam shehem b'mitziusum. But even though they're still in their mitzias, still hem b'telim b'tachlis, the dugmas habitul the yochid, they are totally bottled, similar to the subjugation of the level of yochid. So that's why the Rebbe explains over here. The Rebbe brings in the whole Indian, the advantage of Echad telling us about shame and oir, and then he explained liknois lo shame means that the Eibishter is mamshich in the level of shame, the level of gilui, is to explain to us that while there is an advantage of Echad, he could have said there's an advantage of Echad, there's just an advantage of Echad, because Echad is Mamshich the Etzem, which Yochid doesn't do. But we want to say that's not the ultimate Maila. The ultimate Maila is that the level of revelation needs to be revealed, and that the level of in the world, because Echad is not a complete bittul. It's a davar noise. We want it to be bittul b'mitzias through the revelation of the oir, but not to make it bittul b'mitzias, so it doesn't exist in the first place. But within their mitzias to become bittul b'dugmas habittul diyach. Okay, we'll leave it over here. Mamshich tomorrow, Bezras Hashem.
Right.
Have a great day.
Right.